Actually, you are now host. You can make me a co-host.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you. And as soon as the learner join the class, I will start the recording. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Rita.
Hi, Cindy.
I'm going to wait just a few minutes for everybody to get on board here, and then we'll get started.
Wonderful.
Valentine, are you with us too?
Yes, I am. Valentine. I am.
Valentine. Okay. I grew up, my best friend's name was Valentine. We call her Valentine, but Valentine,
Oh, that's what they call me, Valentine, because I was born on Valentine's Day.
That's so cute.
Oh, thank you.
Haven't thought about her in a long, long time. Wish I could see her again.
I know.
We'll give it just a couple of minutes and see who else wants to get on board. I think we had about 8 people that actually signed up, maybe 7 or 8. And then some people usually join us via live stream as we get going. Hope everybody's doing good today and the weather's not treating you too bad.
Oh, up to 80
Doing good.
today.
We've been getting rain all week and some more to come. So.
And where are you? Where are you?
I'm in Houston, Texas.
Woohoo!
It seems like we're going to get rain for the next 2 weeks and then hurricane season starts. So.
Oh boy.
We're always getting ready for something down here.
Does it ever get cold down there?
Actually, this past April, it got very cold and into the 20s for several, or maybe even below 20s for several days. And we all had, in Texas, had a really rough time. A lot of people.
That's right.
Yeah, a lot of people lost power. I think I was out 3 or 4 days. Pipes were frozen and broken. We're just not built for that kind of cold down here. And plumbers were at a premium. You couldn't find a plumber anywhere, and people were without water. And I think some apartment complexes are still suffering, trying to get all the water back together and back on and everything for people. It's really, yeah, it's hard. It's hard for them. I was fortunate. I was only inconvenienced for 3 or 4 days, but it felt like I was camping in my own house.
Yeah, no, still in all, it's a very difficult situation.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and get started, and other people can join as they can. This is a class on email scams, what is phishing, and we'll talk a little bit about ransomware too. I'm going to start the class with PowerPoint. We're going to go through some PowerPoint slides. I'm going to talk a little bit about Get Set Up here at the beginning of the class. And then we'll go through PowerPoints and look at some actual email, phishing emails, just some other kind of scams in general. Then we'll jump out on the internet and look at some information from the FTC website, some links that I'm going to send you in the follow-up email to help you just go through some of this again at your own leisure and look at some of the information that the FTC has. They're constantly updating the site and putting out new information and everything. We do have James on board as our technical TA, technical assistant. I will say though, if you have questions as we go along, feel free to unmute and ask them right when the questions pop into your head, because I feel like that's the best time for us to address and discuss whatever you have on your mind. And it also prompts me sometimes to remember some things that I throw in that I don't always remember. Every class is a little bit different. It kind of leads me wherever everybody's questions are. We kind of go in that way. So let me start with a screen share here, and I will share my PowerPoint, and let me scroll it up to the top to get going here where we need to be. And hopefully everybody can see my screen. Yes. Okay. Alrighty, so this is email scams and how to recognize them. And as I said, we'll also talk about a few other things, just a little bit about how to stay safe on the internet and things like that as we go along. But as I said, I wanted to talk just a little bit about Get Set Up. This is just a little bit about me. I'm your guide. I have an MS in education, taught in the public schools, colleges, universities. I went back to school to become a radiologic technologist, which is an X-ray tech. And I spent 30 years in the field of X-ray, working at hospitals around the Houston area, and just recently retired from a 13-year stint as a director of radiology program in one of the Houston area hospitals here. The reason I teach with Get Set Up is because I like to see people learn things, and when the light bulb comes on, the light bulb minute, and it's just, you know, they say once a teacher, always a teacher, and that's so true. Everything I've ever done in my life has always been kind of in teacher mode, so I'm just going to carry it on out to the end. So the good thing about Get Set Up is we learn from each other. We're learning from people that are just like ourselves. And I appreciate those of you that turn your cameras on. If you don't want to turn your camera on, I understand though. There's some days where I wish I didn't have to turn mine on too. If you are joining us by live stream, the best way to participate is to really get on the getsetup.io website and sign up for a class and book one that way. You have a lot of other opportunities to enjoy the website and things that we have to offer if you do that. All of us that Get Set Up talk about different products and different type things. We don't get any kind of kickback or any monetary reward for mentioning different products. We just use them in the course of discussing what the content is of our class. The Get Set Up community is growing quickly, thanks to you guys. Share the fact that we're out there with your organization as we partner with states, senior living, assisted care, YMCAs, all kinds of things. We're just growing and growing. If you have any issues or questions about anything, you can always email help@GetSetup and somebody will get back to you. And we are recording this session, and it is live streaming also on the Get Set Up TV. So I wanted to let you know that, and you can request a recording of this class if you want to go back and look at the slides and things on your own time at your own leisure, just by sending an email to help@getsetup.io and tell them the name of the class that you want the link to and tell them the day that you took it on, and they will send you a link to that class so you can go back through and sit and watch it at your leisure, or maybe share it with somebody that you know. Okay, also after each class, we send out an email with kind of some key takeaways on the class, kind of some follow-up information. It'll have some class notes that'll look similar to something like this. It will have suggestions for other classes that you might want to take. And you can actually click on these links that come in your email and book those classes if you're interested. You can also click here and give us some feedback. We do depend on feedback from you guys to let us know how we can improve our classes for you. The feedback, when you open up the feedback link, it looks something like this down here. You can rate the session itself. You can rate the guide that teaches you the session, and then anything else you want to add, you can add down here, just free text, type in whatever you'd like, whether it's about the class or something that you'd like to do. I'll also mention if you have something that you're very passionate about and you might want to work with us with Get Set Up and maybe host an interest group to see how all that goes, just let us know and we'll get in touch with you. And also, please put in any suggestions for new classes that you'd like down here. This is what we depend on you guys for, to tell us a lot about what your interests are and things that you'd like to see us teach. So that's the class notes that you'll be getting afterwards. Also, if by chance you're online booking, if you're on a computer, iPad, booking something on the actual website, after you book, you'll get a chance to add it to your calendar here, which I thought is very handy. It's a new feature that we have. You can also click on something like this and invite a friend. Maybe it's a topic that you know a friend likes, something about cooking, and you'd signed up for it. And you can open up your email client right here by clicking on this link, and we can get out of the way there, and send them an email, tell them about the class. If you book on a mobile device, you'll see something like this, and you can also invite a friend by clicking here. So that's a little bit about Get Set Up. Does anybody have any questions about Get Set Up, or is everything going okay? You're not having any issues with everything? Hopefully you're enjoying the new website and the way it's set up and everything. Okay, I'll go back to the share and we'll talk about what the agenda is for the class. We're going to talk about the definition of phishing. and damages that are associated with when you actually engage with phishing emails. We're going to specifically learn the signs of a phishing email so that when you see an email and you're wondering if it's really true or not, or really, something you need to respond to or not, well, you'll learn those signs. We're going to talk a little bit about ransomware. I'm sure y'all have all heard of ransomware if you don't already know what it is, since the Colonial Pipeline was just in the news. It was attacked with ransomware and was actually shut down because of the inability to operate its systems. We'll take a look at a few phishing text messages. I have a video, actually a voice recording of just a plain old phone scam. We'll just talk about a little bit of everything. And if any of you guys have something you want to add, feel free to speak up at any time. If we're talking about a particular type of scam or a phishing email or something, and you've actually had one or know somebody that's fallen for one, just speak up and tell us about their experience. That's kind of how we all share information about things that have happened to us. I've had several friends that have been caught up with these things. And actually that's what started me to decide I wanted to teach this class, because there's so much information out there and it's hard to tell if any of it's true. So that said, I want to do a quick prior knowledge check. How many people actually know what a phishing email is? You kind of know one when you see one. You can raise your hand or speak up or whatever. Hey, Shirley, I see you joined. Hank also is on board. Patricia, anybody know what it is?
I think I've seen one.
Okay, what made you think it was a phishing email?
Something like a Nigerian prince wanting me to save the money.
Oh yeah, if you ever get an email saying you've won the Nigerian lottery, don't interact with that email. Just let it go. There's some very specific things that you'll learn from these emails as far as how to identify them, and because a lot of them are really good. It looks just like, you'll get something from Amazon as we'll look. Let's just go ahead and look at that one. Get something from Amazon and it'll make you feel like, you really need to contact somebody. Basically, a phishing email is an email that's sent to you in an attempt to get you to click on a link or open an attachment, which then leads you to a site where they're going to try to get information from you. And this is a very common method or very common way for criminals to try and talk you into giving away your information.
Go see doctor.
So what can happen if you interact with one of these emails is your login information can be compromised. You can be talked into giving up your data, like your credit card info, social security numbers, things like that. It could open a back door for hackers to get into your network and do all kinds of harm to your network, including planting ransomware on your computer, in which case all your files would be locked up and your computer would be kind of useless. So all kinds of bad things can happen, so to speak, if you interact with an email. So here's our first example of a phishing email, and this is actually one from Amazon. This came from a friend of mine who actually fell for this one, almost to the point of giving away her credit card info, including the 3-digit number on the back of it. Looks like it's from Amazon because it's got the Amazon logo right here. And it says, this is the last chance to log in and regain access to your Amazon.com account, I would assume. It's got a reference notice here. It's got the Amazon logo. It says, dear customer, for your protection, your Amazon ID is automatically locked. And down below, had a link for her to click on and to take her to the Amazon site to update her credit card information because her account was supposedly locked. Now, since we've read through this, over here on the left, here are some examples and some red flags that you should watch for. Something like the last chance, it'll always say last chance, or give you some other time limit to act on what they're requesting you to do. Kind of like a high pressure sales tactic. There may be misspellings in the subject line, which we have right up here. Look at Amazon.com. That's not really a misspelling, but it's a different font. So it looks like that would signal to me that they copied and pasted something in an email template, and one of the characters didn't actually show up in the same font that the others were. So that's a clue right there. Of course, this is the last chance. That's your high pressure sale tactic right there. Strange reference numbers. We've got some really crazy something on here that's noted as a reference number. Now, yeah, that could be something real, but it's not. In this case, it's not. There's too many other signs to show you that this is a phishing email. Also, there will also be always a reference to your account being locked or closed, which is what it says right down here. For your protection, the Amazon ID is automatically locked. So that's a typical phishing email. This isn't a very good one because it's got a lot of red flags on it that are very easy to see. But anybody can copy and paste an Amazon logo into an email. So those things aren't hard to get. Amazon, Netflix, any of the big businesses out there. So this is a simple example of a phishing email. Now, if you get something like this, don't interact with it. Don't click on any of the links. Don't do anything with it. Just delete it and move on. If perhaps it's a little better phishing email than this one and not so obvious that it's phishing, and you really think something might be up because you have had suspicious activity on your Amazon account, what you should do is call Amazon. Now, or whoever the email is from. It may be from Netflix, call Netflix, Chase Bank, call Chase Bank, whatever. But what you want to do to get that customer support number, you don't want to Google customer support for Amazon, because criminals are very smart. They're always one step ahead of us. And they have actually started taking out ads on Google and putting in numbers that are supposedly Amazon customer service, Netflix customer service. And when you use those numbers to call Amazon or Netflix or whoever you think you're calling, you're actually just calling a data bank of criminals that are going to try and scam you and get information from you that you shouldn't give them. So go to the Amazon.com website and pull up the customer support number from there. Go to the Netflix.com website and pull up the customer support number from there. That's the best way to get the numbers to call them and verify, because a lot of these are really good and they make you really think that, well, I do have an order out there. You may get something from FedEx and you may think, well, I do have an order and maybe it is hung up and maybe I do need to call them. And, but go to the proper website to get the phone number to call. Okay, knowing what you know now, let's look at this email. This was actually an email that was a fake invoice for Norton Antivirus program. A friend of mine got this email and she sent it to me. So looking at this, what are some of the red flags that you see? Anybody want to?
Yeah, the return address.
What about it?
It doesn't seem like it's from Norton. It seems like it's from some made up email account.
Absolutely. If it was from Norton, it would be from Norton.com. Well, this is from gmail.com. Plus, it's got some name, Sophia, with some crazy Gmail address here. So that's your first clue. You're exactly right, Hank, that it would be from Norton.com. Now, one way that you can tell some emails don't actually show the email address. It'll just say it's from Sophia, and you don't know who that is. You can put your cursor up on that and sometimes click on it, and it will actually show you the email address that it comes from. You can actually even do this on your phones or your iPad too. There's always a little arrow right after the email or the name of who it's from, and you can tap on that little arrow and it will open up and show you what the address is. So that's one way that you can tell. What's something else you see that's a red flag?
I see the subject line, those, the invoice numbers.
Oh yeah, Rita, that's a big one. And yeah, and it must be real important, right? Because they've got all of these little exclamation points in here. But yeah, this is some crazy number here that they've put in. So definitely a subject line. What else would you think?
The periods and the number sign too there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. How about in the body of it actually and on down? What's something that you see in here that's like, that's not how we write?
Right.
Oh, why they have all those number signs?
Yeah.
The number signs. What's
right. Yeah. That would probably indicate that they again copied and pasted something into an email template and something didn't transpose into the correct font that they were using or whatever. But here's, as we go on down, here's this weird number again, and it talks about Norton Security 360. This is the amount that's due with $20 tax, and a total of $349 is going to be charged to your account. And if you don't want to, and you want to cancel the subscription, well, then all they ask you to do is to call this number right here.
Right.
And that's just going to be a number to a bunch of criminals sitting around waiting for people like me and you to call them. So don't do it. Don't fall for it. So this is another email that's pretty obvious that it's obviously a phishing email. Any questions on that one?
I have a girlfriend that answers the telephone. This is not about telephone calls, but she'll answer the telephone calls because she's curious. You know, I've told her what some of them are. Like if a caller has your name and your telephone number and it comes in that way, you know it's a scam.
Right.
And she says, well, what kind of scam? I says, I don't know. It doesn't matter. I know it's a scam. Don't answer it, you know?
Right.
But I imagine there's a lot of people that are too curious. So at the bottom where it says to call, they'll probably call.
Right. And that's the bad part of it is you do a couple of things. When you answer those phone calls, what you're doing is validating to the criminals that that's actually a phone number somebody's going to answer. You know, and they set up these robocalls that just call ever so often. And sometimes I've gotten calls from the same number with it 3 times within like a minute. And it's just it's just a computer calling. That's all it is. But yes, if you're curious, don't call, because you're just going to be calling a bank of criminals, unless you want to call them and tell them what a rotten job they're doing and to get a real life or something like that. I wouldn't call. But even if you do, what you're doing is telling them this is a phone number that someone's going to answer, and it's just going to go on a list, and you're just going to get more and more calls. So that's the best thing to do. I always just let my phone ring if it's not in somebody that's in my contacts list. And if it's important enough, they'll leave me a message, and then I'll call them back.
That's what I think. You know, that's what I think about it. And you know, I haven't been wrong.
Yeah.
They don't answer after my little intro if they just
right.
They know that they're soliciting something.
Cindy, I just
Yes.
I just had a phone call come in through my iPad.
Uh-huh.
Okay, it's on my cell phone number.
Uh-huh.
And it's a guy that wants to clean my furnace ducts.
Oh, uh-huh.
Well, I live in a building that doesn't have furnace. We have floor heating.
Right.
And I don't know how many times I've told this guy, I don't have a furnace. He calls again.
Right.
So
How
I
many?
just block their numbers.
Right.
Yeah,
And
don't
that's,
even answer the number is my point. Don't
yeah.
even answer.
Yeah, but that's what, right. And and I do that too, whether they leave me a message or not, I go in and block the number. At least that's one more number that won't call me. But of course there'll always be more. But yeah, that's a lot. And sometimes, you know, Shirley, they actually are calling and just trying to sell their service. You know, sometimes because you can go on the internet and pay for a listing of phone numbers to call people and do what's called cold calling, you know, but 9 times out of 10, no, and especially if you live in a building that doesn't even, you know, have that, that's really kind of silly or makes them look kind of dumb.
You know, they've gotten
But
very
I bet you
now they're using the same area code. It used to be 800 numbers. Now they're using your exact area code to call you.
Right.
You know what they do?
Number.
They steal numbers.
Yeah.
They'll steal my number and use it to call the next person.
Right.
And you think, oh, that's it comes up S. Wilson.
Right.
Oh, that's somebody that's phoning me, you know.
Right. No,
So
that's
then
exactly what they do. Yep, that's exactly what they do. They'll spoof your number. Like my number begins with a 713 and an 805, and I get calls from numbers that start with 713, 805 all the time, and that's like, you know, obviously they just think that I'm going to answer it because it looks very similar to my own number, you know. So
yeah, but these emails, I bet you I get 50 a day in my spam.
Yeah.
I clean out my spam every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I just go delete. Because
Right.
if you put you want to unsubscribe, then they got your email address.
Right. And sometimes if they're from legitimate companies, they will actually unsubscribe you. However, if you click unsubscribe to some of these, all you're doing again is sending an email address out there to a bunch of criminals to let them know that, hey, this is really an email address that somebody interacts with. And so that it just goes on another list where you're going to get more calls.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Okay, so let's talk just briefly spear phishing and what spear phishing is. It's phishing email. A spear phishing email is something that's even more targeted for you, and criminals use familiarity as a way of deception. In other words, it may look like it comes from someone from your church, maybe your pastor. They can have your pastor's name, and they may send you something, that makes it look like it's coming from them. So that's spear phishing, where it's very, very targeted and makes you want to interact with it because the tone of the email and what they're talking about is very familiar to you. Now, everybody probably knows this young lady. She's on Shark Tank. She lost $388,000 in an email scam. So don't think it can happen to just, us peons that don't really know much. It can happen to anyone. What happened in her case is this was a prime example of spear phishing. They used a company that she does business with in Germany for home renovations and hotel renovations and things like that. They're a legitimate company, and someone sent an invoice for $388,000 to one of her assistants from an email address that was familiar. It was from the company. And so the assistant sent Barbara an email and said, do you want me to go ahead and have finance pay this bill or something to that effect? And Barbara read through it quickly and saw yes. She said, yes, we've got a contract with this company going on right now in Germany. Go ahead and send it for payment. And so the assistant did send it on to finance. And when the finance person or whatever actually wired the mail or sent the information for the payment, he CC'd the assistant and Barbara on the email that he sent. That's when the assistant realized that the email he sent everything to and the email that all of this came from was one letter off of the real email that it should have gone to. So they were spoofing one of their emails, and everybody thought, well, this is familiar. This is, yes, we're doing with this company. And, I'm sure they do lots of bills, and they just went ahead and paid it. It's my understanding she did get her money back. I don't know how or anything about it, but I'm sure it wasn't an easy thing to do to get it all back. But this is a typical example of spear phishing. One thing that we might see, and actually I've seen from some of my friends, they will get an email. Let's say I have a grandson named Tommy, and an email comes to me and says, hi, Cindy, my name is Tommy. I'm a friend of my name is Joe. I'm a friend of your grandson, Tommy, and I'm over in Italy. I was robbed last night. I lost my passport, my money, my credit cards, and I can't get home. Tommy said that you might be able to help me by wiring some money. And I'd really appreciate it if you could, because I'd really like to get back to the States. And, you're thinking, well, that's, my grandson brings some of his friends over all the time, and that's horrible that this happened to this young man. So, let me go ahead and send him some money. And that's, of course, a scam. But that's another way that they use familiarity by making us think it's from someone in our family. In the event that happened to you, you could actually call family members and say, hey, where's does Tommy know anything about this friend of his in Italy that got robbed or whatever? You can check into it before you send any money. But when you get an email and someone asks you to send money, wire money, don't ever do that. If you get an email from someone that says to pay for something, or your account's locked, and in order to get it unlocked, you need to pay an amount of money, or you need to buy some gift cards or something like that. Gift cards is a very easy way to scam money from people. Rita, what's up? What happened?
Oh gosh, I lost a friendship over this.
Did you?
Yeah. Okay. I see her email here, and it says catching up. And she lives in California, but we were friends since kindergarten. So it says, how are you doing today? I hope you're doing well during this unprecedented time. Please, I need a quick favor from you. Best regards, Annette. Okay, so I responded, and I wrote back, what can I do for you?
Right.
Miss Goodness.
Right.
Miss Sweetness. And it says, thanks for responding. Actually, listen to this one. Actually, I need to get Google Play gift cards for my niece who had a heart operation some days ago, and she lost both her parents from COVID. I need this for as a birthday gift for her. What can I tell you? I tried. I really tried. I thought it was valid. I mean, her address. I mean, but what I'm saying is I didn't lose money, but I lost the friendship because I didn't know. It was just so confusing.
Right. How did you figure out that it was a scam?
Well, because when I couldn't get on Google Play cards, they said to me, could you try Best Buy? And that's when I said, well, can't you try Best Buy? And then I asked some questions that only she would know, and they never got back to me. So
yeah, that's how it goes. You're right. That's spear phishing. I mean, they targeted you, and somehow or another they found an email address that was a friend of yours, and as if the email came from them. And yes, that it happened.
I still don't know if it's her email or not. You know what I'm trying to bring out?
Yeah, I think they can actually spoof somebody else's email and redirect it somehow. I'm not real sure, but I know there's something that they can do where they can actually use their email, or maybe it wasn't, if you didn't already have her email address, or did you already have her email address?
Oh, sure.
They couldn't have even maybe changed it by one letter or something like that too,
No,
so.
I looked over it.
Did you get a chance to talk to her?
No, I don't have her phone number. Otherwise, I would have called her that day.
I see.
But this went on for about an hour. You know, it was terrible. It really was.
Yeah, that's a shame. And it's not only just trying to take money from you, it just affected you in so many other ways too. It just that's horrible that people don't have anything better to do.
Like I said, I just looked over her email address. I said, that's her email address,
Right.
But I mean, it didn't smell right from the beginning, but I wanted to be helpful. So. Right.
Well, Rita, that's one of the key things you just said. If it doesn't smell right, or if your gut instinct is telling you that it's just not right, it's not, go with it. And worst case scenario, she could call you someday or email you someday. And in fact, even the criminals could follow up and say, hey, I never heard back from you. Why didn't you, help me when I asked, or whatever. You just have to go with your gut feeling and trust it. That's the only thing you can do sometimes, So let's talk just a little bit about ransomware. Probably all heard about the $4.4 or $5 million ransomware that Colonial paid to get that pipeline back up and going to the East Coast.
Yeah.
And that was a really big one. But ransomware basically is a link or something, a link or an attachment that someone tries to get you to click on, and it actually opens up kind of a big in your face, something like this, saying that, what happened? This is a screen like this. This is just one of many that could come up that tells you basically that your files have been encrypted, meaning that they have gotten into your network and gotten into your computer, and they've locked up your files. And they'll go through everything, like to tell you, here's what happened to my computer. I've locked up, we've encrypted your files, and that you can recover them, but you have to pay us a certain amount of money. Usually they'll ask for that money in Bitcoin or some other kind of cryptocurrency. They may ask you to wire it, something like that. But these things will also have high pressure sales tactic type things where they say you only have this much time to pay, $5,000 or your computer will be useless. All your files will be gone or whatever. And if you don't pay by this time, it's going to be, you'll never get your data back, and I'll expose it out on the dark web or something like that. But this is a typical example of something that might pop up. Now, the best thing to do if you run into something like this is just turn your computer off, just shut it down, unplug it, take the battery out, whatever, because it's my understanding as this ransomware goes through your computer files, the quicker you can shut it off, it may not have gotten to the vital files and shut down your computer. So just shut it down immediately if something like this pops up. Don't interact with any of it. because obviously you've already clicked or something on, opened up something that's caused this ransomware to be able to get into the computer. And so just shut your computer off, and then a little later, try and reboot it. If you can reboot it, then you're lucky it didn't get any of your major files. You're good to go. If you can't reboot it, take it into a tech shop, Best Buy or something like that, and tell them, hey, I've been hit with ransomware. Can you see if you can fix my computer? You know, it may cost you an hour of their labor time, but generally speaking, they have programs that they can decrypt or unencrypt your files so that you can continue to use your computer. You don't have to go out and buy a new computer or anything like that. And, you know, unless for some reason they're not able to get your computer back up and going for you, but generally speaking, they can. So that's what ransomware is. And if you stop and think about it, if somebody just tries to hit me or you for ransomware, you know, then they may ask for $1,000. That's a lot of money to us. To a big corporation like Colonial Pipeline, or maybe I live in Houston, maybe the city of Houston networks gets hit. If they take down stuff like that, it's your infrastructure that, you know, just think if a city got shut down, you couldn't use your 911 services, your police numbers wouldn't work, you know, nothing like that. Hospitals are a big target for ransomware right now. And when they get shut down, they have to go back to using paper and pen for everything. And that's really costly. That can cost patients their lives sometimes too. So, and especially COVID, as you were talking about, Rita, with COVID, if there's this hot topic in the news right now, that's what they're going to create scams about. There's a ton of scams about COVID out there and coronavirus, and the FTC has some good information. We're going to look at one of their sites too in a little bit. Let me check my chat box real quick just to make sure there's not any questions that anybody has asked out there. I see our TA is helping us. Yes.
Cindy, let me tell you of a case that I heard. My sister's had this on her computer, okay?
Okay.
So she took it into Office Depot, and Office Depot said, oh, they couldn't fix it. They had to send it to Vancouver. So, okay, you know, she's going to send it to Vancouver. Then she said, well, before we do that, let me ask my granddaughter when I get home. So her granddaughter came over, and it was some little thing that she hadn't done that, you know,
right.
That I don't know. Sometimes Office Depot and Best Buy are in on it too.
Yeah, or yeah, I don't know if the companies really are being dishonest, or I mean, they could be, they certainly could be, but the criminals, you know, they spoof these companies where they're so good at it, they really make you think it's these companies that are interacting with you, especially if you've maybe been into their stores recently. But you know, that's not to say, Shirley, very good point, not to say that you don't have someone on the inside at Best Buy working. A lot of times that's where this stuff comes from, is you have criminals that are actually working at these places, you know. So one of the hospitals that I worked at before I went to work there, my supervisor was telling me of one of their technologists they had that was actually getting social security numbers out of their system that they had. And he said nobody even knew about it until one day the FBI came to their director and asked for this particular employee, and they literally handcuffed him and took him out of the building. But that's, you know, a lot of times it's from an insider doing these things. You just never really know, you know.
You can't trust anybody anymore.
No, unfortunately you can't. Unfortunately, that's a sad state of affairs. You know, you really can't.
Yes,
let's see how we're doing with time here. Yes.
Patricia raised her hand for quite a long time.
Tricia, what you got?
Question. Now, my sister got something like that where she was locked out, but they got into her email somehow, and she went to try to get back in, and they asked her, you know, she had her phone number in and she had her password. They had changed everything. To this day, she can't shut that email down because, and this person is going around, like you said, saying, I need money. I'm in another country. And that's why we found out when people start calling and say, where's your sister? Where she's at home. So what do you do?
Right. Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, you know, what do you do? I have an acquaintance whose daughter actually somehow or another, someone got into their email address and everything and wiped out about $18,000 in their bank account. They got it all cleared up, went through everything. 2 weeks later, it happened again. And what she found out was someone actually stole her phone number for her cell phone, and they were using her cell phone to contact various businesses. You know how a lot of times you'll call, for example, I have Xfinity or Comcast is my TV provider. You can call Comcast for something and they will identify you who you are by the phone you're dialing from. So this person that stole her phone number, what they did, I don't know if you're familiar with porting a phone number, but if you have a cell service provider, and maybe like I'm with Verizon, maybe I want to go with T-Mobile, they have a better deal. So I go to T-Mobile and I tell them that I want to port my cell phone number, meaning I want to keep the same phone number that I have. So that's called porting your cell number. And that's evidently what the criminal did. They ported her cell phone number. And as he called everywhere, they actually recognized it, this criminal, as being Carrie. And so that's why 2 weeks later, they were back into all of her bank accounts and everything again from porting her cell number. When I found that out, I did find out that you can contact your carrier and tell your carrier that you want to put a lock on porting your number. And actually, I have Verizon, and Verizon actually have something in their Verizon website where you can go in and put a lock on your porting your number. So that was something new that I hadn't heard of, that, you know, people are actually stealing other people's phone numbers, and then you got everything you need there. There's just no end to the criminal activity and to the things that the criminals will do. And just when you, like I said, when you think you figured something out, whether it's the FTC is shut something down or whatever, they take it one step farther and they just come up with some other way to try to get all of our information. So that being said, this is just an example of a tech scam. I'm sure you've all gotten these too. I'm sorry?
Valentine want to say something.
Okay, go ahead. Who was it that wanted something, James?
She was Valentine. I'm asking her to.
Valentine.
There she
Okay.
goes.
What you got, Valentine?
Yes, I had an experience with AT&T for the Uverse service. Well, it was really for a cell phone service. I received an email telling me that my shipment will be in soon. Someone had ordered an I-12, the latest one. It was $1,500 on my account. And I couldn't understand how in the world did they get my account, but I could tell it was a different email from the email that AT&T usually send me. It was a little different wording. You know, the A was different and the AT&T, all that was different from the original company. And I called them right away and to let them know that I didn't even receive. They tried to, they had everything. The guy called me and told me that FedEx is delivering my phone now and told me that he was sending me an email for me to send it to that email address. And I mean, it was in Florida, somewhere in Florida. And telling me that he was the head of the fraud department. And he called it that somebody was trying to get a phone on my account and gave me a fake name, some girl in Durham and everything. I called AT&T. AT&T didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
But they had billed me $100 every month for that phone. And I had to get it straightened out. He told me, don't open the box. Don't open the box. Just send it like it is. I opened the box. All that detail was on the inside.
So they actually did send the phone to your address though, right?
They did.
Wow. That's really strange. Yeah, that's sad. But yeah, they do. They use a lot of, there's just no end to it. You know, that's a new one. I'd not even really heard that one, but that doesn't surprise me. Let me see how we're doing on time here. Okay, we got to get going here. Let me get through the rest of this. This is just a tech scam example that don't ever interact with anything like this. If they say they have a package for you somewhere, you need to pay some money to get it picked up or to get it redelivered or anything like that. That's just a typical tech scam right there. This is something that I got from a friend of mine on Facebook Messenger. And if you ever get an email or anything with something like this, a YouTube video in it, and it says, "Is this you in this video?" trying to get you to click on the link because, you know, somebody gets an email saying, hey, there's a video here and you're in it. Well, I want to know what it
Yeah.
is, but don't do it. Don't do it. This is a big one that's going around. When it looks like it's a video that you're in, don't fall for that one. Just leave it alone, delete it, carry on.
So what happens when you click that video? What information is
You're clicking on a link that it may take you through several different websites. I mean, who knows? I never clicked on one to find out what happens, but what it's going to do is it's going to let a criminal get into your computer or your network. If you're at work and you click on it, it's going to get them into your network. That's what it's going to do. And then once they're in there, they could plant ransomware. They could steal your passwords. They could steal all kinds of personal data from you that's on your computer.
Can you make this view? I can't see I can see you, but I can't see.
Probably maybe the view that you have it on. James, can you help her with that? If you're just seeing me, it's something to do with maybe your Zoom view, maybe something like that. Is everybody else seeing this right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
It needs gallery view.
Okay.
Oh, I was looking for that. I can't find gallery at all. I see
Up where it
Zoom.
says view at the top of the screen, a view all the way on the right at the top of the screen.
Uh-oh, I'm out. Hello.
Okay, I'm going to move on with the class here while you're trying to figure that out. This is actually something that a friend. Okay, this is actually something that a friend had too. It looks like it's a real email from Chase Bank. It's not, I'm sorry. It talks about there's been some suspicious activity on the account and it wants you to log into your account. Well, once you log in, it's going to take you to a site where they're going to have your password and username for that. If you want to know who it's really from, it says up here at the top, it's from jpm.chase. I told her, I said, tap on this little arrow beside this. And I said, you'll find out who it's really from and you'll know if it's really from Chase. And so she did. And this is what it showed. It brought up all of this information and it's from some email address that one of their contacts is chaseblissaudio.com. That is not Chase Bank. So again, you can always go and tap on these little arrows if you're on your phone and find out what the email address is that the email actually came from. But this would have taken her to a site that asked her for information. She would have logged in and lost all of her bank information. This is a typical voicemail scam. I'm going to play this. I hope it's not too loud for everybody, but this is just a...
My name is Officer Stephen White, calling you from the Department of Social Security Administration. The reason you have received this phone call from our department is to inform you about a legal enforcement action which has been filed on your name and social number for criminal activities. So before we proceed with any legal proceedings, and if you want more information about it, please press 1.
And that's going to take you to a criminal that's going to want to get your information from you and everything. We've all gotten things like that. The Social Security Administration is never going to give you a call. So don't ever. In fact, it would be a good thing to report this to the FTC. And I'll show you how you can do that here in just a minute.
My name is Officer Stephen White.
Didn't mean to start that again. Okay, so this is just briefly a little bit on how to stay safe when you're online. If you're out and about and you sign on to one of the public wireless networks like Starbucks or something, McDonald's, it's perfectly okay to do that, but these aren't secure wireless networks. So don't do your banking online or don't do any shopping where you put in your credit card information or anything like that. Make sure you use unique, strong passwords with 7 or more characters. Make sure you include upper and lowercase numbers and special characters. And as we talked about earlier, watch out for emails or texts from DHL, FedEx, or things like that telling you to claim a package that they have for you. That's always a scam too. One good thing to do is continuously check your bank and credit card accounts for any unauthorized activities. Set your alerts and use your alerts. You can do that on your bank accounts, on your credit card accounts. Also, if you're out shopping on the internet somewhere, don't auto-save your payment details. For example, I have a candle company that I order candles from quite frequently. And when I check out, it'll say sometimes, do you want to auto-save this payment information for your next order? And I always say no. If I want to order from your store again, I'll just re-enter my credit card information again when I do order. So those are just a few things that you can keep up with. Okay. I'm going to stop this share and actually get off of that. I'm going to go out onto the internet and I'm going to show you some sites from the FTC Let me look. Okay, we have about 10 minutes left, so that'll give us time to go through these sites. Any questions while I'm loading up these other pages? I'm going to send you the link to all of these that I'm about to show you here. And these are some really good, and actually one of them's a little bit fun. Here's one from the FTC. And this is basically everything that we just got through talking about. Talks about how to recognize and avoid phishing scams. Just all the basics right here. These are links that you can click on to get further information. Right here, how to recognize a phishing email. Talks about all those things we did right off the bat. Here's an example of a phishing email. Let's look at it. This one's from Netflix. It looks like it's from Netflix. It's the same colors. It's everything. It says, please update your payment details. And it says, hi, dear. Well, that's my first clue because Netflix was emailing me. They know my name. It would say, hi, Cindy. They wouldn't call me dear. So there's all kinds of red flags here. It says your account's on hold and they want me to update the account now by clicking right here. It would just take you to a criminal website and they would try to get your information from you. So this link is just everything. These talks about all the things that it looks like that causes it to be, all the things that are identifiers for this as a phishing email. If you get emails that are unfamiliar or you didn't initiate the emails or whatever, don't fall for them. Just delete them and move on. This site from the FTC is kind of a phishing quiz. You can kind of take this. It's kind of a fun thing to do. It'll ask you a question. You can click on the answers and see if you get it right. Some of them are true false questions. So I will send you that site also. Here's a whole page on coronavirus. As I said, if something's hot topic, it's going to be right there and they're going to have all kinds of things out there. There's so many different scams out there for coronavirus. And this is just a page with all of that information in it right here. This next site is very helpful. This is how to report something. If you get something, whether it's a phone call, an email, or whatever, text, you can report it to the FTC. The actual voicemail that we listened to a while ago, I reported that one because that's the Social Security Administration, supposedly. And the FTC and other groups work on trying to shut these criminals down. And, you know, there's so many going on. You may think, well, why should I bother to report anything? Because they're never going to find them. Well, that's not true. They do find them sometimes, and they save millions of dollars every year for consumers by following up on this. So this is a good site to have. If you just click on the report now, it actually walks you through everything that you need to do to report something. For example, if I want to report the one about the government, an impersonator or something, I would click right here, impersonator. It would say, who were they pretending to be? Since it was the IRS, I'm going to say a government authority or agency. Then I'd click continue. And it goes to a page where it has more questions that it asks you, a little more specific, like did they leave a number to call back? Did they just ask you to punch a certain number to connect with somebody else? Any details that they give you or whatever. And then in the bottom, there's just a whole box where you can type in anything you want about anything to give them more information if you want. And then you just click continue and it walks you through submitting it and they have that information. You never know, you may be the one person that gives them a little bit of information that actually helps them crack a case, you know, so don't be afraid to report anything to the FTC. So I'll send you that website where you can keep that handy, maybe bookmark it. And one last thing I want to talk about here before we just open up for any extra questions. This is a page where you can go in and see if your email address has been compromised. Now, a little bit of the history on this, what this means, have I been pawned? Well, pawned is not really a word. And I'll give you tell you where this came from. Is there's a lot of online gamers that they play games online with each other in groups and they're typing to one another all the time. And whenever they beat somebody, they say, I own you. OWN, I own you. So they O and the P is right next to one another on a computer. And when they're typing real fast, instead of saying owned, they'll put a P in there and it comes out to be pawned. So that's where this term came from. So that being said, this website, Have I Been Pawned, you can put in your email address and it will tell you if your email has ever been compromised on any of these breaches that are out there. So I have 2 email addresses and I have one that I use every time if I want to maybe enter a contest, if I want to order something, whatever. It's kind of my junk email address that I know I'm going to start getting a lot of email that I use. And so I'm going to put that email address in here, Yahoo. And so if I hit this I accidentally hit a key. If I hit pawned, this will tell me if my email has been pawned or not. And actually, it should say there was pawnage because this email has been compromised. Oh, I know what it is. I have one too many twos in there. Here we go. Okay. I don't know why it's doing that. Let me reload the site here real quick and re-enter. Okay, it says, oh no, I've been pawned. So this email address was compromised. And if I scroll down, it tells me the breaches that it was actually found in. Now, I don't understand a lot of this. All I know is it has been compromised at some point in time. This is one of the breaches that it was found in. Here's one from a big marketing company called Exactus. It was on that list too. So what that means is that somebody has my email address and my password with it. So anything that I use that email address and password, a criminal could go in and use that to get into other sites and things like that. So the first thing you'd want to do if you put your email address in here and it has been compromised, just go and change your password to something very strong. That's the first thing that you should do. Change your password. You don't have to necessarily quit using that email address. It's kind of a hassle when we have to change email addresses nowadays because that's how we communicate. So go in and change your password for it and you can continue to use it. If you want to create another password somewhere else, you certainly can. Just make sure your passwords are very strong. Now, there's some other things that you can do too. And this next website I'm going to share with you is just a blog that I found that talks about things you can do. And I'll send you this link. You can read through this too. But one of the things I suggest you do is if you have any antivirus software on your computer, run the scans on your computers. Scan for malware. It'll show you if there's, or it will tell you if there's anything that needs to be removed, any malicious software on your computer anywhere. Then it talks about change your passwords. So this just goes through kind of a little bit of everything, what you should do. You can actually go in and look at your email settings and make sure those are set appropriately, and other things that you can do to keep your email from being hacked into or from being breached and used in where somebody has actually got your email address and your password. Okay. The few minutes that we have left, I just want to open it back up for anybody else that has comments or other weird stories. There's so many stories that we could all share, I'm sure. Feel free.
I'm Canadian, and so therefore, if I wanted to report it to that fraud, is there a Canadian fraud system or is the American one valid internationally?
That you can use the FTC one.
Okay.
Federal Trade Commission. And actually, I'll also do some research and see if there's something that is specific to Canada. And I'll send that in the follow-up email too.
Thank you.
Myself a note.
What does FTC stand for? I'm sorry.
That's the Federal Trade Commission.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else have anything? Yeah, go ahead, Rita.
Okay, this is why I'm on this in this class tonight, because somebody said you better get on. So there was something else that it was just an email, and it said it mentioned PayPal, which I participate in. That they were billing me $1,000 for a tractor. Now I live in the Bronx. I'm going to be 82 years old. I have an apartment. I'm not a tractor. So anyway, I called up immediately. I called up, what do you call it again? PayPal. You know, I spoke to somebody. I explained, I said, please don't pay it. Please don't pay it. Okay, then I called up Chase Bank, who's my bank. Please don't pay it. Please don't pay it. They paid it. I mean, I got it back, but they paid it, you know? I mean, I went along with this one. You know, I must be really a sap because I went along. This guy is like, he's like typing on there, you know, and how are you? And blah, 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 you know, and all that. And then he says to me, like, you retired? I said, what's that got to do with anything? You know?
Exactly. So. Right. Yeah, and don't feel bad. I have a very good friend who actually graduated at the top of her class in college. She's an RN, and she fell for a scam with the gift cards, where these people try to make you think they're your friends. They'll stay on the phone with you the whole time. They'll and what they did with her is. So I see James put something in the chat, Sylvia, about there's no FTC equivalent. Thank you, James. I appreciate that. So that should answer your question, Sylvia. But Rita, what I was going to say was they wanted her to get some gift cards because supposedly her Amazon account was suspicious activity or closed or some charges or whatever. And so she actually spent 4 hours going around town getting gift cards. Don't feel bad. And she had, I think it was close to $2,000, but they were on the phone with her. And there were some places she was at, and she said, well, let me just go to Home Depot and get some from Home Depot. I'm right here by it. And they said, oh, no, Home Depot's not, those don't work well or something like that. So they know even the companies that are easiest to work with for fraudulent reasons. But she said at one point, she said, well, I need to go for a minute. I need to call my husband and let him know where I'm at, what I'm doing. And they said, oh, no, that's okay. We'll call him for you. Don't worry. Like they knew. I mean, she honestly said, I thought these people were my friend, and they're not, they're not. It's just, it happens to so many people. So Sylvia, you said, what did you say? Your question, let me look here. Your question was, whom do I report it to?
Yeah, so, especially things that are specifically Canadian.
I'll check and see what I can find out for you. I would think that the Federal Trade Commission might even be able to tell you, but I'll see what I can find out and send some more info, Sylvia. I'll dig a little bit more after the class and see.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure. We'll see what we can find out for you.
There are people that read the obituaries and then they call you or they mail you or whatever they do. I don't know how they figure out your phone number or, whatever, but they do this while the family is grieving.
Yes.
They know when to do it.
Yeah, that's horrible. That's just
horrible.
It's horrible. It is. But I almost
fell for one. And then I thought, wait a minute, I read that in an email at work. So I called the telephone company right away and they took care of it for me right away.
That's good. But have you ever gone to Google and put your name in and just Googled yourself?
No.
You should try that and see all of the information that's available to you out there on the internet. It's really kind of scary. People could get your ad. Just go to Google and put in your name. Just Google yourself. And
I know you can get information on people's addresses, whether it's ever been foreclosed on and all that. That's not the public's right to see, I don't think.
Right.
But they do.
And there are some companies too that you can pay like $9.95, $19.95, and you can get all kinds of criminal background check info, all kinds of information on people. So there's so many different ways out there to get information on people. The criminals can get who your neighbors are, their addresses, their phone numbers. It's just amazing. We have to be so careful with our private information. But that's very hard to do nowadays too, but the ability to be able to know how to protect ourselves, ignore a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, I took a Get Set class that was in regards to safely selling your stuff.
Yes.
Now, he has the person come to your home. I would never do that.
Nope.
I'd be mailing it, but he's instructing the class to, guess what? Come to my house.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
I wouldn't.
And
I wouldn't do that.
When he gives an address, he doesn't give his real address. He gives a neighbor's address. Don't you think the neighbor would be upset?
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. I don't like that.
Yeah.
So if you have input on that particular class.
Yeah. The best thing to do for that, most police stations or police substations now have a designated area for people to make trades when they're selling things on the internet. And there's a camera on it that's specifically blocked off with, orange stripes or yellow stripes. And that's the best place to go because no scammer is going to go try and do something in a police parking lot. So that's really the safest way to do it.
To a church or to Goodwill or something. Give it to Goodwill.
Yeah.
Don't have a person come to your house.
Right. No, that's just not safe.
Particularly if you're a woman by yourself.
Yeah. You just shouldn't do that. Absolutely.
Any person by themselves.
Right. Sylvia, I want to say that James has actually put in the chat. I see he actually put in a website there. If you want to take a look at the chat, where you can actually, let me find it, where you can, here it is, reports spam text. He actually sent some information. So go through the chat and read that. And he's got some information in there. I'll also make sure that I include it in the follow-up email. But James did a great job with us on this class, helping us
Yeah.
out. He's got all kinds of great
Did,
links on
he
here and
did.
everything.
Yes, he really
Yeah.
participated.
There's so much good information on here. I'm going to go and take a look at all of it when I'm done and maybe incorporate some of it into the class for the next one that we do. I'm nowhere near an expert on anything like this. This is just things that I've learned through work and through what I've been trained at work and things like that. And from the internet, things are constantly changing. The criminals are always one step ahead of us. So do everything you can to stay safe. Feel free to come back and join the class again sometime and share more knowledge that you have and help us learn how to teach an even better class. We got to all help each other stay safe nowadays.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks
very
for a great class. Thanks.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it so much. Y'all have a good evening.
Enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. You're great.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.